Hi everyone, this is Mai. Welcome back to FUNSTON TV. Today I thought I would share with you a recipe that I made with my mom a few days ago, and it turned out so good. I think it's the perfect treat for the summer, and it's mango macaron. You know the traditional macaron flavors, they range from chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, pistachio, but I haven't really seen a mango recipe before. So since we had a whole box of mangoes, we thought we would try this recipe. It's so summery, it's a bit tart, it's just delicious. So if you're interested, just keep on watching. We tried this recipe a lot before we were able to achieve the perfect macaron shell. It does take a bit of practice, it does take a couple tries because these cookies are very finicky. They're not difficult at all to make, but with certain tips, you can really make sure that you achieve the right macaron. First, let me walk you through the steps of how to make the macaron shells. So you want to start out with 3 egg whites. And make sure they're real egg whites and not the egg whites that you buy in a carton, because in those they usually add some products and you won't be able to get a fluffy meringue. The first tip I would give you is to make sure that your egg whites are at room temperature. So once your egg whites are at room temperature, you want to whip them up with a stand mixer. To them you want to add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. The cream of tartar will actually help your egg whites stabilize once they form stiff peaks and making it easier to pipe. Then you want to carefully measure out 240 grams of powdered sugar and 125 grams of almond powder. You want to set aside about 30 grams of the powdered sugar that will later incorporate to the beaten egg whites. With the remaining 210 grams of powdered sugar, you want to mix it in with powdered almonds. Make sure you incorporate them first roughly with a fork, and then if you really want to get that fine texture, you can put it in a little coffee grinder, or you can simply run it through a sieve to get rid of any of those rough pieces of almonds. You want to make sure you get rid of all those pieces because that will give your meringue a really light and smooth texture, and you won't get little roughings on top of the macaron shells. When your egg whites form stiff peaks, you want to add the 30 grams of powdered sugar. When it incorporates well, you also want to add your food coloring at this point. For this recipe, we chose yellow. Once you blend your mixture of almond powder and powdered sugar through a sieve and you get this really flour-like texture, you want to fold that into your meringue. You want to fold gently to not deflate your egg whites, but you also want to avoid overmixing, because if you overmix, your mixture will become too liquidy and it will be really hard to pipe. Also, if your mixture is too liquidy, your macaron will actually spread out on the baking sheet and won't be able to rise. At that point, you want to preheat your oven at 300 degrees. You can prepare some cookie sheets and line them with some parchment paper, and onto those baking sheets we'll pipe the macarons later. Once you've folded your powdered sugar and almond mixture into your meringue, you should have a really thick yet runny consistency. And then you want to put that into a piping bag attached with a round tip and carefully pipe out some circles onto your lined baking sheet. It is very important that you let your macaron shells sit out at room temperature for about 30 minutes. You want the top of the macaron to start getting tacky and to dry up a bit, so that when you put them in the oven, they'll actually rise up and not rise to the side. Once you've let them rest at room temperature, you're now ready to bake them. So a trick that I found is to actually put your macaron in the lower shelf of your oven to prevent it from burning. And you want to bake them for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you actually want to keep your eyes out so they don't get brown. It is very important at this point that you do not rotate the pan and you do not open the door of your oven. These little macaron shells are really finicky, and the slightest change of temperature can make these macarons go wrong. It is also very important that you bake your macarons one tray at a time to ensure that they bake evenly, and that way your other tray will be able to sit out at room temperature a bit longer. Once they're done from the oven, you can just remove them and gently remove them from the baking sheet. And now we can prepare our ganache. Okay, so for the mango ganache, I'm actually using fresh mangoes. You can also use mango puree if you want, but I find that the mangoes are really beautiful and they have just the right amount of sweet and tart, so that's why we're using fresh. You want to prepare your mangoes, cut them and slice them in little small cubes. I'm measuring out about 200 grams of fresh mangoes. Then you want to puree them in a food processor. So you want to run that mango puree through a sieve and just keep the fresh mango juice. After that, I'm using about 75 grams of heavy cream. You can either heat it up in the microwave or on the stove, just until it comes to a slight simmer. Once it's just warm enough, you want to remove it from the fire, add your mango puree to that, and then pour that hot mixture onto 150 grams of white chocolate. Your hot cream will allow the white chocolate to melt and it's going to create a beautiful ganache. At that point, you want to put your ganache in the fridge to let it rest for a few hours. This will just allow your piping and your filling to be a little easier. So once you're ready to assemble your macaron, you can take your ganache out of the fridge. You can pipe your ganache in between each cookies if you want, but I'm just going to use a spatula to make things easier. So you want to just scoop a little amount of the ganache, put them on the back side of one macaron, and then place another macaron on the other side. So there you have it, a beautiful summer recipe that will be sure to please everybody. These are slightly sweet, they're tart, and they're just delicious. If you follow these tips, I assure you you'll be able to achieve these wonderful macarons and you'll have the most fabulous treats on your hands. I think this is a great recipe you can try out with your friends, with your parents, with your siblings this summer. I made this recipe with my mom and it was so much fun. We had a great afternoon together. So I think this is a really fun activity to do in the summer. And the best part is, you'll be able to eat them after. Let me know in the comment section below what is your favorite macaron recipe. And thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye. No, that wasn't right. Macaron shells. Oh my god, how do I say this?